Oh, there he is. He's missing my big bro. What happened? Hey,
Can
Dr.
you hear me?
Joel. Yeah. How are you?
All right, great. Doing great, thank you.
Well, good. Well, you deal with the topic that I love to deal with is that you may or may not know that I think the most understudied, the underutilized, and least attention is to sleep. And it's the number one habit we all share. About a third of our life we spend, and I'm so interested in it because I believe it's the only time that I can not only rejuvenate myself, but actually accelerate, meaning I don't have my ego-based consciousness in the way. I have a direct connection to this unbelievable power of source light and love and lessons that I've already created. And I don't understand why people think they have to start the day back where they started the last day. Instead, plateau and grow. If you wonder, I was waving to my wife through the window. She stopped by.
No problem. No problem.
But anyway, you created a new sleep restoration program, and I'd love to learn more. I think I wanted you on here because people, if you're not listening, if you're not studying your sleep, if you don't have a sleep mentor, you're missing a third of your life, a very important third that can change everything. Give me a little bit of background and,
Sure.
atmosphere of what's going on.
Well, people need to realize that all of life is really a balance between wear, tear, and repair. So all day we're busy, we're out. I consider humans to be hunter-gatherers. So we're busy modern hunter-gatherers out on the mean streets, or we used to be out on the mean streets, doing our activities. And at night we rest, repair, and rejuvenate. If we're not sleeping properly, then our body doesn't get a chance to heal and restore. And for some reason, sleep has really, it's come to the forefront, but everyone's looking at all the wrong features. And for some reason, people are very defensive about their own sleep. And, I'm very careful here in my own practice. When you say someone might have a sleep disorder, it's like an accusation of poor health, because people have heard about sleep apnea, but it's like a gross and an unappealing disease that people don't think they have. And it's kind of funny because this is a syndrome that almost everyone has to some degree, but nobody will admit and nobody really wants to know. And whether people want to know this or not, it's linked into our current pandemic in some very interesting ways. So my basis for this is, you may want to think about, what does dentist have to do with sleep anyway? And the reality is, aside from the fact that I discovered I had sleep apnea myself about 5 years ago, is that when it comes to any sleep disorders, we have kind of two choices when it comes to even loud snoring or sleep apnea. So people have heard sleep apnea and everyone sort of says, well, not me. I don't have that. Okay. And which is really tragic because you can't know unless you get a sleep study. And this is something that you want to know. So what I do as a dentist is I fabricate something called a mandibular advancement device. And that is an oral device that you put in at night to stop snoring and also to keep your airway open. I went a step further because I didn't really believe that sleep apnea was caused by what everyone says it's caused by. And I investigated a little further. And so I created a program that's called sleep restoration, because sleep apnea is just a label that no one wants. You did this to yourself. You're a terrible person. You're lazy, and you gained weight. And this is really not what people think. My latest patient was a 23-year-old petite female, and I've treated elite athletes who are in the best shape of their life for the syndrome. It's not at all what people think.
Wow. And what effect does sleep apnea or, lack of sleep, what effect does that have? And how can, we really leverage our sleep to what I call plateau and grow, to start the day at our highest frequency, use that as a baseline?
Right. Okay. Well, so these days we're really in a lot of conflict about what's happening with our health. And our biggest issue is that we have a false paradigm that's sort of beginning to crumble. And that false paradigm has been run by Big Pharma really for the last 80 years. Now, I'm a traditional dentist or doctor. I don't believe in a lot of weird, holistic stuff. I'm more holistic with the WH. I look at the whole body. And the issue is that, Big Pharma has not sworn an oath to do no harm. They are a business that makes money. And unfortunately, they have manipulated the playing field, and doctors are basically giving out prescriptions for medications to hide the symptoms of disease rather than looking at the root cause. And, one of the things I like to say is that you can't fix or repair something until you understand how it works and know why it broke down in the first place. And sleep is our primary regeneration tool. If we're not sleeping properly, everything else will suffer. And that's really basically it. So the problem is that we're caught in this false paradigm where we don't really even understand what organic health is. Nobody who sleeps poorly is going to succeed in life. Dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, all these diseases, these are the diseases of improper aging. And this is on everyone's radar. My parents passed away over the last 5 years, both from pancreatic cancer. They both had untreated sleep apnea. They both had a lot of the very classic things that people are going through. They were on cholesterol statins. They were taking big pharma's medications, not knowing that there was a choice. And that's what I really discovered, is that there's a root cause of all these diseases, and they're very tightly linked together.
And what types of things can we do to sleep? And besides getting tested, obviously,
Right.
for restoration and apnea, are there vitamins to take? Is there a position? Is there a temperature? What are some of the best sleep advice that you can give?
Right. Okay. So there's a lot of information out there about how to sleep, having a quiet room and having a proper bed. And we see these commercials that if you snore, we'll just raise the bed and you'll stop snoring. Well, I want to just put it out there that anyone listening to this, bruxism, clenching and grinding of teeth, either in children or adults, is a very, very unusual symptom of early sleep apnea, because the part of the brain that's supposed to be regulating sleep and breathing is malfunctioning. So to anyone listening to this, if you have a child that grinds their teeth, or if you have a spouse that snores, these are neurological symptoms and conditions of a greater syndrome. And it's one that I'm calling the modern epidemic. This is the disease of modern living, which is really a disease of the brainstem itself, the autonomic nervous system. And that controls digestion, circulation, sleep. It controls all of our housekeeping duties that we don't have to actively think about. So sleep is just one of the systems that begins to fail. We notice sleep right away because you feel tired. Snoring is very annoying. If you have a bed partner that snores, it keeps you awake. And if at 3:30 in the afternoon you're crashing and you can't stay awake, you've got a problem. And there's nothing you can do about this except for really address the root cause. So of course we want to do a proper diagnosis. That's a sleep study. And then once we have that information, there's multiple things that we can do. It's just that it's a bit of a complex system. And that's why I created cartoon characters to try and share this very complex scientific story with the general public to make it sort of easier and more fun. Snoring and sleep apnea, insomnia, these are all vitamin D deficiencies. And we're hearing a lot about vitamin D because what we're hearing is that when it comes to COVID-19, the people who have the good results, so 96% of people who did not notice they were sick and had this coronavirus, they had vitamin D levels up over 30 nanograms per milliliter. And all the people with the poor outcome, 96% of them had levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter. And that's the measure of vitamin D that your doctor isn't measuring for you, that very few people are managing, but now has come to the forefront of one of the critical things about our health. And the syndrome is very simple. What we haven't really taken into account is that humans are symbiotes and we have multiple different microbiomes. These are areas in our bodies where we get into a relationship with the microbes. We have a gut microbiome, we have an oral microbiome that I'm dealing with in dentistry, but it's the gut microbiome that makes so many of our anti-inflammatory chemicals. 90% of our serotonin and our dopamine are produced by the microbes, are supposed to be produced by the microbes in our gut. Vitamin D regulates which microbes are there based on season. And of course, this makes sense. Evolutionarily speaking, our ancestors in times of winter needed a different bunch of microbes to make it through winter. So that's the basis of the coronavirus, poor sleep, and general health. It's a poor microbiome being destroyed by the modern world. That's kind of a lot to unpack there. So
No, it's really good. I think beyond that scientific side of it and your experience as a doctor, there's also a habitual side, and understanding how we create effective sleep habits. And two of the things that I've learned that have helped me, because I do have Dr. Sangeeta Sahi, who's the MLB's sleep coach. He actually coached the Nationals to their World Series. I was so jealous they gave her a ring. I said, how did you get a World Series ring before me? Because they won 4 road games and credited to sleep. That's not fair. But moreover, the habitual side of what she taught me was, number one, to live your day to the ends of how you're going to sleep. So for me, I'm living today going, what do I need to do to sleep well so I can wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, which is the target time of what I like to wake up at for productivity and accessibility. But the real one, which was interesting, was she created for me a wind down routine. So everyone has, the meditation in the morning, you wind up, you get fired up. But I actually, starting at 9 o'clock, have a wind down routine where I watch my exercise, my caffeine, the temperature, not putting myself in the right mental, not inundated with negativity or stress in any way. And it allows me to get into a place. Do you believe that these habits actually allow me to get more rejuvenation, to have a better sleep? Or, is it just a matter of going to sleep and then I'm going to get the same sleep no matter what my wind down routine is?
Right. Well, so question to you, do you wear any blue blockers in the evening to block any blue light?
I don't.
Okay. So a lot of what we do, these habits, these are good things, but your body doesn't really take advice well. It just relies on the sensory information coming in. Okay. So what we have to really think back on is that we are human animals that evolved outdoors, outside. And one of my, things I like to say is that humans are solar powered animals, and we take a charge off of the sun. It regulates our circadian rhythms through sunlight around our eyes, on our skin. This is all transmitted via light into our interior, so that as the sun begins to set throughout all of evolutionary history, all animals that are non-nocturnal on this planet start to gear down for sleep. Okay. Now we evolved with only the native radiation, the sun, and then, a couple million years ago, maybe fire. When we incorporated non-native energy, and, we can call it EMF or electromagnetic radiation, this changes our biology. And the most primary thing we need to understand is that the absence of light tells our bodies quite a bit. So that as that 7, 8 p.m. comes, blue light into your eyes that's coming from your screen, your phone, is actually destroying melatonin. Melatonin is your sleep hormone, but what most people don't know is that staying awake after a certain point is okay if you block your blue light. And so this is kind of one of those biohacking things that seems silly, but it's real. There's a real scientific basis behind this, because the actual frequencies of blue light tell your brain that it's noon. And most screens and most LED lighting in your home and outside in the street, this destroys melatonin. So number one, you're having reduction in your melatonin, and people know that it's a sleep hormone, but they don't know that melatonin is the most powerful antioxidant in not just humanity, but in all animal life on this planet. Plants and animals use melatonin. This is our anti-cancer drug. So if you are destroying your melatonin production, aside from the fact that you're destroying your circadian rhythm, you're actually harming yourself, because blue light itself has been classified as a 2A carcinogen, meaning that people who get too much blue light have a higher incidence of cancer. So while those routines and habits are very important for us as human animals, we like our routines, biologically speaking, they're only useful for you if they're calming you down to get you into that better state. But what I'm here to tell people about, there's lots of people telling this information about all these conditions to set the stage right for sleep. I'm giving you the biochemical fuel to put your brain and give your neurons that control sleep the missing pieces of what's been removed through modern living. And it's kind of shocking. And that's why I created those cartoon characters that you see behind me, is to help share such a confusing message and to make this stay in people's focus, because this is really important. So the answer to your question is yes and no. Your biology is much more important than your habits, but those other things can make or break your sleep sometimes. It's a combination.
That's amazing. I sit there and remind myself that you're actually, as a doctor and a dentist, that you came up with all, but I understand the cartoon characters. Just real quick, because I have Glenn Parker waiting in the wings there, but I have to ask you about the cartoon characters. Did the highlight magazines that sat in your lobby influence you to do cartoon characters?
Not at all. Not at all.
Did you have the highlight magazines in your lobby?
So I do not. When I took over this practice 20 years ago, they were here. So
they were. Okay, I just want to make sure. I went to the office when I was a kid that didn't have those highlight magazines. Well, Dr. Gould, you're doing extraordinary work. I love the fact that total resilience and the ability to be creative within the context of your skills and knowledge, and how it's applicable to something much bigger than just filling fillings and cleaning teeth. And I'm a student of sleep. I will study more of your stuff. I'm so intrigued by it. The blue light stuff was incredible. We got unbelievable comments. Where can people find you?
Well, my dental practice is in Manhattan Beach, California, modernamericandentistry.com. But my new paradigm is called Modern Hunter Gatherers with an S. So I'm on YouTube at Modern Hunter Gatherers. Please subscribe and like my videos. And also my new website is modernhuntergatherers.com. Humans evolved to be hunter-gatherers, but we're living in the modern world. So we have to be modern hunter-gatherers. And that's the story that I'm trying to show people, how to regain our health organically. And we can keep big pharma in the background and look at what's important for our biology rather than what's going to make somebody profit.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me on Office Hours. We'll have you again, and I'll
Great.
come up and interview you. I definitely want to check out the videos. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.